It's your boy Dame. Subscribe to me, Dame's World. We got another doozy, another great, my personal favorite segment, Malcolm's Words, man. You gotta respect it. You gotta honor wisdom. What wisdom is in contrast to intellect. Intellect is acquired information through cognition, but intellect is not experience. Wisdom is what you gain through experience, in which you can pass along from generation to generation that still applies. Intellect, little different. In 1800s, it was said that the earth was flat. That was the intellectual idea. Now, 2018, you say the world is round. So to say the earth is flat is an idiotic statement. So this is the contrast between wisdom and intellect. Malcolm was someone of wisdom. The analogies in which related so well, and how he spoke on his era in comparison to the 1860s, and how they still compare to 2018 today. It's amazing. So I have to pay my homage, and I have to break down and decode the language of Malcolm the Great. This topic today, this is the third one, is on the house Negro and the field Negro. And I'm going to be comparing the contemporary house Negro and field Negro to the one he speaks of his era and of the slave era. Let's get it.
They lived in the attic or the basement, but still...
Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back.
This you have to go back to what young brother here referred to as the house Negro and the field Negro back during slavery. There was two kinds of slaves. There was the house Negro and the field Negro. The house Negro, they lived in the house with master. They dressed pretty good. They ate good because they ate his food, what he left. They lived in the attic or the basement, but still they lived near their master. And they loved their master more than the master loved himself. They would give their life to save their master's house quicker than the master would. The house Negro, if the master said, we got a good house here, the house Negro said, yeah, we got a good house here. Whenever the master said we, he said we. That's how you can tell a house Negro.
So the house Negro was in agreement to the actions of his slave master. The house Negro loved his slave master. The house Negro was grateful for the things that the slave master gave him. In comparison to contemporary society, the house Negro, in my opinion, these are my ideals. The house Negro is happy to have what they have that America has gave them as second-class citizens. The house Negro is happy that as long as they standardize and make their English proper and go through the channels to be quote-unquote successful in Western society, America is cool. Despite seeing the millions and millions of field Negroes go through suffrage, the house Negro is fine. The house Negro elevates themselves from the field Negro by their ideology to distinguish themselves when they have no separation.
If the master's house caught on fire, the house Negro would fight harder to put the blaze out than the master would. If the master got sick, the house Negro would say, what's the matter, boss? We sick. We sick.
Basically, what I get is the house Negro of today and the house Negro of yesterday just adheres to the notions of the slave master. We have masters now. Do we adhere to Western societal norms that tell us that we are second-class citizens, that tell us to adopt their language, that tell us to adopt their principles? And you have, in my world, you have quote-unquote black faces who tell the field Negroes to comply. So it doesn't even have to be the slave master essentially anymore. We have house Negroes telling us, hey, you gotta act like this. You gotta cut your hair, man. You gotta change up your image if you want to be a certain way. This is the house Negro, always in adherence to massa.
He identified himself himself with his master more than his master identified with himself. And if you came to the house Negro and said, let's run away, let's escape, let's separate, that house Negro would look at you and say, man, you crazy. What you mean separate? Where is there a better house than this?
If you compare that to contemporary society, boy, if you tell the black African American, that's my little quote for the alleged house Negroes. If you tell those people to go, let's go to Africa, man, let's separate, let's leave this environment that wasn't meant for our ascension, that's almost a detriment to our survival. They're gonna be like, what are you talking about? America's the greatest place ever. What else? What are you gonna do in Africa? There's no job. You're gonna be hungry. You're gonna go starving. The misconception that the house Negro portrays and conveys is what keeps the field Negro like me, like Malcolm, field Negroes go through suffrage. We know it's a problem, but you got house Negroes propped up and propagating bullshit. So without further ado, again, get them.
Where can I wear better clothes than this? Where can I eat better food than this? That was that house Negro. In those days, he was called a house nigger. And that's what we call him today, because we still got some house niggers running around here. This modern house Negro loves his master. He wants to live near him. He'll pay 3 times as much as the house is worth just to live near his master.
That's in the 60s he's talking about, but in 2018, the modern house Negro will do the same exact thing. You'll move to a suburbia, and you'll say that your area, your urban area isn't safe, isn't conducive to your ascension, as if you can't build up that urban environment, as if we can't come together because it's about the people within that environment. Yes, we have powers that stagnate it and put shit like bad food in that area, put shit like drugs, and inflict crime in that area. But as a people, we are looking to build a community with the pros and where the house Negroes are at. You don't go be a field nigga and go to Massa and say you living off better in Beverly Hills while the rest of the house Negroes, the rest of the field Negroes suffer.
And then brag about, I'm the only Negro out here. I'm the only one on my job. I'm the only one in this school. You nothing but a house Negro. And if someone come to you right now and say, let's separate, you say the same thing that the house Negro said on the plantation. What you mean separate? From America? This good white man? When are you going to get a better job than you get here?
Test it. Test that theory right now. Test talking about separation to African Americans. They're going to say, are you crazy? It's going to be a small percentage of people who be like, hey, a small percentage of people who even know how many countries are within Africa. Just think about that.
I mean, this is what you say. I ain't left nothing in Africa. That's what you say. Why you left your mind in Africa.
You left your mind in Africa. You got a Eurocentric mind as soon as you stepped on this land and adopted all of their beliefs, like your last name, like what's socially acceptable. You done lost your mind thinking that you shouldn't go back to your native land.
On that same plantation, there was the field Negro. The field Negro, those were the masses. There was always more Negroes in the field than there was...
The labor force, the workers today, the people living in subsidized housing, gentrified areas, all type of urban areas, misplaced. We are the field Negroes. We do the labor. We do the hard work. We're the engine that keeps this society running, yet don't get the proper respect.
Negroes in the house. The Negro in the field caught hell. He ate leftovers. And
the field Negro, they eat junk in a environment that produces junk. So just do the comparison and the contrasting of today's house Negro and today's field Negro to yesterday's house Negro and yesterday's field Negro.
The house, they ate high up on the hog. The Negro in the field didn't get nothing but what was left of the insides of the hog. They call them chitlins nowadays. In those days, they
niggas still eating chitlins.
Call them what they were, guts. That's what you were, a gut eater. And some of you all still gut eaters. The field Negro was beaten from morning till night. He lived in a shack, in a hut. He wore cast-off clothes.
It's just directly analogous to today. The field Negro is in subsidized housing. The field Negro is in an environment where the good food is scarce. The field Negro is still catching hell. The field Negro is the one getting stopped by the police. It's not the house Negro. Well, occasionally it is. They'll be like, what are you doing in Calabasas? He's like, oh, I'm a house Negro. Okay. Have a good day, sir.
He hated his master. I say he hated his master. He was intelligent. That house Negro loved his master. But that field Negro, remember, they were in the majority. And they hated his master.
Do you hate your master? Do you love your master? Do you think you even have a master? That'll revert to some field Negroes who may not even think they have a master. See, the dynamics have changed today. It's a lot of people who don't even think they're slaves. So to call someone a house Negro or field Negro is going to be offensive. A house Negro definitely don't think they're a slave. They think they're lucky to be supervisor for the white owner.
When the house caught on fire, he didn't try and put it out. That field Negro prayed for a wind, for a breeze. When the master got sick, the field Negro prayed that he died. If someone come to the field Negro and said, let's separate, let's run, he didn't say, where are we going? He said, any place is better than here.
That's the biggest distinction between the house Negro and the field Negro I take from this video. The house Negro doesn't think that there is a problem in this land. The field Negro, the proletarian, the worker, the quote-unquote minority, even though if you combine the minorities, we are the majority. The quote-unquote minority is suppressed, and they know that the government, the system is corrupt. Field nigga think it's just good. They're going to tell you to just comply and everything will be straight. A.K.A. Jason Whitlock, A.K.A. Charles Barkley, A.K.A. a lot of black faces.
You got field Negroes in America today. I'm a field Negro. The masses are the field Negroes. When they see this man's house on fire, you don't hear these little Negroes talking about our government is in trouble. They say the government is in trouble.
You gotta classify it. Is it our government or the government? This ain't my government. They've never treated me. They never governed me safely. They've governed against me, so it's the government. As a field nigga, you should know this. As a house nigga, you gonna say that's our government. So we're doing the distinctions for today. Do you call that your government? Is that your government, black, Mr. Black Man, Mr. Black Woman? Is it really your government?
Imagine a Negro, our government. I even heard one say our astronauts. They won't even let him near the plant. And our astronauts, our Navy, That's a Negro that's out of his mind. That's a Negro.
To associate their properties as yours. You out of your goddamn mind.
That's out of his mind. Just as the slave master in that day used Tom, the house Negro, to keep the field Negroes in check. The same old slave master today has Negroes who are nothing but modern Uncle Tom, 20th century Uncle Tom, to keep you and me in check, keep us under control.
21st century Uncle Toms. You got the ones telling Cap he should stand and salute the flag. You got those telling any activist speaking to denounce their activism, or you're going to call them militant, you're going to call them extreme. It's house Negroes all over the place, and they're propagated through media forces. Fox, CNN, Don Lemon, or Don Lemon, excuse me.
Us passive and peaceful and non-violent. That's Tom making you non-violent. It's like when you go...
He taking Martin stabs now.
Go to the dentist, and the man is going to take your tooth. You're going to fight him when he starts pulling. So they squirt some stuff in your jaw called Novocaine to make you think they're not doing anything to you.